Hello beautiful souls and welcome to day 95. Today we're going to talk about what floor are you living on, and we're going to use this as a metaphor and an analogy for identity and look at, are we living on a lower floor of who we think we are we living in the penthouse, and are we presenting out into the world a facade of the penthouse, and yet when nobody's looking we drop back down to the lower floors and potentially even the basement. This is an analogy and metaphor that I first heard Carolyn Mace talk about, and she speaks about it in reference to the chakras, and that, you know, living on the ground floor is your root chakra, and up until the 7th is obviously your crown chakra. And it just came to mind today that the floor we live on, the level of identity we choose to hold ourselves in, impacts how we see the world. And this is not new information to anybody. And what we sometimes forget is that we have the choice, the wiring, the power, the authority, the ability to choose what level of identity we are living in. To live on the ground floor has its perks. To live in the penthouse has its perks. Being in the ground floor, or if we're looking at the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever floor, lower floors, we have a different vantage point. It's not as bright, potentially, depending on where it is. You might have less space to move around in. It might allow you or us to live a more contained life. When we are living in lower levels of identity, lower levels of our conditioning, it's so easy to hold ourselves back, to not allow ourselves to shine our full magnificence out into the world, and to look at our external reality as reasons to define ourselves, as reasons why we are quote unquote stuck on a particular floor, stuck in a particular identity. Now I know that can be seen as quite a simplistic look at or view of identity, that there is depths to it, there are unconscious things connected to levels of identity. And yet, when we get still, when we choose to sit in the space of our own wisdom, what we think is unconscious has the space to make itself known. And it's from there that we get to release it, to untangle ourselves from it, and to rise up onto any floor of identity that we should choose to. When we are wanting to or choosing to shift identity, when we are wanting to live at the level of our soul identity, and we'll equate that to the penthouse, it can sometimes take time to traverse the floors of that. It might be that we move up floor by floor in whatever time frame that takes. It might mean that we leap from ground floor to the 10th floor in one go. To be able to hold ourselves, if we are going from a lower floor lower identity all the way up to soul identity in one go. It's really challenging to do that. And so to have a consciously defined self-concept that allows us to continuously walk back up the stairs into the embodiment of a new level of identity is super important. And as I have personally found, necessary. It's the coding of self, so that self, the human self, realizes more of the truth of who we are. And then another sneaky way we can, and maybe that's not the right way to say, I'll change my wording. There are times where we wonder why we're not moving, why we're quote unquote stuck in a certain level of identity. And where this comes from is, who are we being when nobody's looking? How are we coding ourselves, calibrating ourselves when nobody is looking? And this is the thing. God, the universe, soul, looks at you, and only you. It's responding to you. And so often, if we're in a lower level of identity, we are, as I said earlier, we're looking to the external for validation, looking to the external for whatever it is we think we need. And so we can play a facade of living in the penthouse. We can rent it out for a little while. We can present this beautiful, polished, luxurious identity out into the world. But then when everybody's gone, when nobody's looking, when the camera is off, we take the lift back down to the lower floors within. And this is the story we tell to ourselves. These lower stories, lower self-concepts of that identity, of what's possible, of what isn't, of who we are, what we are worthy of, what we're capable of, all the things. And this is where real identity work happens, when nobody's looking. What floor are you going to sleep in? And I mean that in multiple ways. It's so easy to go unconscious during the day. It's fine. But what level of identity are we going unconscious in? The one that is rooted in old limitations, old restrictions, likely sourced in childhood? Or do we go unconscious in higher levels of identity? In levels of identity where we have coded into our very being that we are magnificent, that we are boundless, that we are power, that we are free, that we are unlimited, that we are wealth, that we are capable of anything. And it's knowing that within, that we then discover where it is we're going to sleep on. It is there we discover who it is that we are when nobody's looking. And it is this that subconscious responds to. It is this that the universe responds to. The who you are being when nobody's looking. The floor you're deciding to live on when nobody's looking. The view of life that you're choosing to have when nobody's looking. And this takes practice at times. It takes training ourselves, building the muscles to maybe continuously walk back up the stairs to the floor that we're wanting to live on. And so, today is day 95. In 5 days, the 10-day Becoming the Woman training ground, shall we say. The door will open and we'll begin on day 101. And this is my celebratory gift to anyone who joins for these 10 days. This is about coming into a private space allowing you to come in as the one who lives in the penthouse, to practice your energy, to practice how you speak, to go live every day in the Facebook group, this private group, to speak what it is that you want to speak about, to share your power, to share your audaciousness, to share your authenticity in a way you have not done before, in a way you've been hiding from. And it might be that you have a new offer that you've been wanting to speak publicly about, but you just haven't been able to hit the live button or the record button or whatever it might be. And during these 10 days, this is for you to become the woman. The woman who knows that she is the one who chooses what floor she lives on, the woman who chooses to lead herself into greater levels of identity because she can. If you would like the details, comment below and I will send it on to you. We start on March 4th, but the doors open on the 3rd. The Facebook group open on the 3rd. Let's see, through community, through walking shoulder to shoulder, how quickly you can raise into the penthouse of who it is that you are. All right, I will see you tomorrow. And if you feel this live would resonate with a woman in your life, send it on. I would be very grateful. And please share.